email investors. So welcome to Cold Email Investors. I'm the startup coach, founder of TorontoStarts. We're one of the largest startup communities in Canada. We've been around since the beginning of 2015. And today we're going to be talking about cold email outreach to investors. So warm intros are always better. So if you have them, use them or get them. Use the same templates or formulas we're going to talk about later, but you can use them through warm outreach. And a couple of my examples are showing where someone else is introing you to somebody, and there's templates for that. So does cold outreach work? In short, it can. But if done wrong, it's generally a waste of time. So if you spam investors with the same message, you're going to get extremely low response rates. But with a little work, you can get those numbers up and start having a few investor conversations every single day. So let's talk a little bit about rules to get responses. The people who generally get responses from cold emails follow 3 simple rules. And I'm going to mention this, by the way, ignore the graphics. They're the thing I do last. I add different pictures, and this is the first time I'm doing this particular presentation. About the 3rd time through, all the graphics are updated, and I've got the slides in the presentation perfect. So rule number 1, reach out to non-super tier 1 investors. You know, dudes at Kleiner Perkins are far less likely to respond to an upstart VC than an upstart VC firm trying to make waves. VCs are even hard to time getting top tier VCs. So other VCs even have a hard time meeting top tier VCs. So try, not to reach out to them right away. Write specific email. So put in time writing very specific emails. If your email is specific, you're more likely to get a response and it doesn't feel like spam. And we're going to get into that in a minute. And have something to sell that comes across as impressive to elicit a response. You can state traction, how impressive your team is, and the like that catches the eye. And we're going to talk about some of the things that does that. So let's understand that you're hunting, but we're not hunting rabbits, we're hunting money, and that means investors. So let's take a peek into the mind of the investor. And if you have questions, if I'm going too fast, I'm going too slow, just throw it in the chat room there. So investors are busy. They're very busy. They've got meetings, they're running around, they're talking to different people all the time. And investors get a lot of email, pitch decks. People are pitching them all the time. So think about that. Constantly busy, overbooked all the time, emails coming at you, maybe 100 plus emails a day. Investors invest in very few deals. Usually, an investor will do 1 to 3 deals a year. Okay. So starting to think about this a little bit. Investors don't care about you until they do. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more, but they don't care about you until they do. And for the most part in their mind, they're looking for an excuse to say no. So keep that in mind. You don't want to give them an excuse. Investors, they like warm intros, as the founder, whoever else is intros them, probably has a great background. So the deal is probably worth looking at. Investors, they don't trust you. They have no reason to trust anything you say. Founders frequently lie to them and talk so much crap they have no reason to trust you. Remember all those meetings and all those emails and all those stuff? So again, we're just putting you in the mind of the investor. They only want to know enough to know what to do with this email. Am I throwing it in the garbage? Am I forwarding it to someone else? As soon as I know, I'm done. Investors, they usually know a lot about startups and general industries, but never the amount that the founder has on a specific business. So don't assume the founder or the investor knows all the jargon and specific stuff in your industry that you're working on. So keep that in mind. You might have to explain some stuff to them, but not necessarily about startups. So that's us understanding the mind of investor. Their busy day, they're running around, and your email's coming in. But let's understand you a little bit. And I'm warning you, this might be a little harsh. And I've heard a few of these things last night from our mastermind group. You're not a big deal. You couldn't even get a warm intro in them, so you're sending them a cold email. So you're nobody. You're asking someone you have never met and spammed across the internet to give you $1 million. Think about that. It's crazy when you think about it. You are frequently lazy and didn't even try to get an intro. Okay. Now, this is what they're thinking about you. This may not be true. That might be true. You are too into your startup and know too much and want to say everything. You rarely keep things simple and high level for the right stage. You're way down in the weeds. People want to get really down in the details when they're doing this intro stuff, and that stuff comes way later. Your slide deck probably sucks. Sorry to tell you this, but it probably does. The earlier you are, the less traction you have. If your traction was amazing, investors would have found you already. So, in 80% of the case, you have good investors in traction, investors find you. So you probably don't have much in the way of traction. It's a numbers game and plan on hitting up every investor you can. You may or may not know that, but it's the new world of dating. Trying to meet people face to face, especially now COVID, is really hard. So if you're not dating using online apps and swiping right or left or whatever the new thing is, and understanding that's a numbers game to find people you like that match with you, it's the same thing with investors. You're not going to talk to the one investor and send a cold email and they're going to invest in you right away. It's just not going to happen. It takes time and work. You have a startup to run, so you're prone to take shortcuts, even if you know they may harm you. We all take shortcuts. We got a lot of stuff to do. You love your really ugly baby. Everyone else thinks it's ugly, but you love it. Okay, that's your startup. You are probably too early to be funded by anyone. All right. I know that was pretty harsh. It was meant to be, but I want you to take cold emailing seriously. Each cold email should take you a minimum of 5 minutes, but it could take you hours depending, but it's going to add up. So prioritize the people you're connecting with. Now, I want to talk something about a really important concept. Escalation of commitment. It should be ingrained in you. Escalation of commitment. You see it in life, you see it in everywhere, but let's talk about with investors. As an investor or a potential client, I don't care about you. I don't care about you now. I don't know who you are. I don't care. But the more I get to know you and like you, I will care more. I will spend more time getting to know you, the more I like you. So the first interaction needs to grab attention and leave them wanting a little bit more. The first meeting is the first date. The investor is learning the ropes for your business. And every additional meeting is to then learn more and more. If you can't grab my attention in the first cold email, it's over before it's begun. So think of it this way. If you're an investor and you got 100 emails a day and you respond to one email, why would it be yours? And yes, every other startup is your competition for investor time and money. So keep that in mind. Obviously there's some people in different fields, and I like working together with a bunch of startups at the same time because it's great as a mastermind group, but all startups are your competition for investor time and money. Maybe an investor won't invest in that other startup, but maybe they took that 1 hour meeting that maybe you could have had. Hopefully you're understanding how all the details in your outreach are forming a picture of why you are the 1 in 100 to even get an email response. So you can and must do email marketing to investors. If you're fundraising now in the future, investors. Some of my best friends are investors. So in all seriousness, selling to investors is similar to high stakes B2B or enterprise sales. Email is often the best way to open investor facing sales conversations. Apart from warm introductions, which still require email nurturing to close key meetings, not to mention put the ball in your court. Sure, all founders would like to say they have strength of their product, brand, and word of mouth is such that they don't need cold email to cold email a bunch of investors to raise money. the raise around they're working on, but this is usually not the case. So I've seen some impressive investor conversations forged from cold emails and investments happen. Sending them via LinkedIn message can also be a good way to start cold. And I mentioned at the beginning, before we really got underway, technique one of the other founders was doing was getting a pretty good respond rate doing cold LinkedIn messages. So let's get into some of it. Keep it short. This is the number one tip. So keep the length of your cold email to an investor somewhere between 500 and 200 words. You only have a few seconds to make that initial impression, and the full email put should only take 45 to 90 seconds to read. I like to think 60 seconds is a sweet spot, because over that, people are starting to lose attention. The opening line has the highest probability of getting read, so make it count. And the goal is to get a response, not to convince someone to invest after just reading your email. You just want a response, and then you want to book a meeting, and then, so keep that in mind. Keep it simple. A good cold email has a simple structure. Although preferences between investors vary, you can't go wrong with the following: 1 to 2 sentences on why you reached out to this particular venture capital company, 5 to 8 bullet points for essential information, intro to the founders, like the problem you're trying to solve, how you solve that problem, traction figures, information on the funding round, possible other important things that establish credibility, like lead investor name, IP, signed POs, key partnerships. One of the typical pieces of advice was to pay attention to the formatting when it comes to keeping it simple. You should avoid walls of text. Divide the text into short paragraphs, or use line spaces, then bullets, and then or numbering, and then some text. Brevity is king. We're going to go through a bunch of formatting and examples shortly, but I want to go all this. Do your research. Spend time trying to understand the goals and preferences of each investor you're approaching. This will help you to figure out whether they'd be a good match for a company or not, and connect with them on a personal level. What's their background? What are their values? What stage do they invest in? Do they focus on specific industries, geographies, or business models? Soon you'll notice that every VC is different, so make sure to personalize your approach. Sending 100 copy and paste cold emails in an hour will give you a 1% conversion rate. Sending 10 unique cold emails in an hour will get you an 80% conversion rate. So where do you want to be? Value prop for the receiver. What's in it for them? Everyone wants to help with general advice, but it's really hard to respond to everyone. So think about easy ways, some ideas you may have for their companies, a thoughtful response to something they've wrote or said, or even something like, my work might even be fun for you to read. Think about it. Without conducting any research, how can you expect to know what they want? If you can't find an angle that will engage them, they're never going to give you the time of day. You need to understand what the potential investor is interested in, what might make them interested in you, and what unique angle you can take to get that foot in the door. What companies have they invested in before? Are there any trends in their investment decisions? Do they invest in certain industries only? How much money do they typically invest in a company? What is the average valuation of companies they invest in? What content are they sharing most on LinkedIn? What topics are they tweeting about? I'm just going to move this bar out of the way here. It's kind of, don't want to. All right, there we go. Set yourself up for success by doing research. Don't get caught by assuming all investors are created equal. Figure out what this particular investor likes, what's most likely to get their attention. You can check them out on lots of platforms, AngelList, Crunchbase, LinkedIn, and figure out what they're interested in. Attach a deck. So attach a pitch deck up front. I usually attach a link rather than an attachment, but people do what they want to do. When sending a cold email to an investor, your job is to reduce friction and make it easy as possible for them to say yes. If they find your pitch interesting, they want to know more right away, make their life easier, attach a pitch deck. Use a common format so it's quick to read and skim through. There's a bunch out there. I'm going to do something on that. I've done a bunch of stuff on pitch decks, so take a look. There's videos out there. Study pitch decks from successful startups to perfect yours. However, there's an exception for every rule. Not all VCs accept to receive a pitch deck in the initial email or at all, especially in those early stages where there's a lot of inbound from investors, founders might not have the time to create a deck, instead rely on product demos or to present their idea. The best practice is to have a link to your deck. Include a strong call to action. When writing a cold email to investors, always make your specific ask. Are you raising funding? Then propose a short introductory call or meeting. Also, asking for more than one thing in your initial outreach makes it harder to get a response. You can ask for feedback or advice later on, even if the investor has declined your proposal. Be specific. This advice applies across the board. Let the investor know that you want to contact them specifically, not just any VC. Show real, accurate numbers right up front. Present a specific problem, briefly explain how you're solving it. Avoid the buzzwords and jargons like disruption or Uber for X. I don't know. A lot of people still like to see that Uber for X thing, but I think it's tired. You do you. I got a couple examples with and without. So, and finally, write your pitch like you would explain it to a friend. Write like you talk. You're starting something with "I stumbled across your fund" isn't a great opener to a cold pitch email. Instead, focus on why your company might be particularly compelling to the investor's interests or background. Proofread, and proofread one more time. Weed out the easy mistakes, typos, punctuation, grammar. Trust me, as a guy who has dyslexia and makes all the sorts of posts, the mistakes I find everywhere, it's shocking. So don't do that. There's nothing worse than sending out an email with a misspelled name. Oh, get their name right. Like, I get emails from people all the time, and they, my name's right there in my email, but you can't spell it right. Okay, get someone else to read your text. After writing for hours, you'll almost definitely be blind to your own mistakes. When I've written something, I put words in there. I see words that aren't there because I wrote it. I know what I meant. Words. So take time. Oh, my default microphone has changed. All right. So take your time. Don't hit send before you have polished your pitch to perfection. Let me know if I don't sound okay in the chat there, just because my microphone did some blinky thing. Don't waste time. Respect other people's time. Explain the value you create. And if the VC is interested, they'll reply. Don't ask for an hour of their day or the moon from the sky at this stage. You'll get there eventually if there's a potential match. There are lots of other things to steer clear from, including things like don't go on a long rant on the history of how you came up with the business idea. Don't ask for an NDA. No one does those. No one wants to be legally bound to you just to talk to you. And they're not worth anything. So, it's just not going to happen. Don't apologize for cold emailing them. Lead with value. We're only a few slides away before we get into a few examples here and the crux of what I'm sure you really want to see. Lead with value. When it comes to cold emailing an investor, the very first mountain you need to climb is not how can I get them on the phone? And it's definitely not how can I get them to invest? When it comes to cold emailing an investor, the first obstacle is getting them to open your email. People overlook that. And it's such a simple thing. The average open rate of cold email is between 15 and 25%. That means 75 to 80%, 85% of all cold emails are deleted before they even get a chance to be read. If an email lands in an inbox and no one opens it, does it exist? In other words, you could have the greatest cold email ever written, but if you can't get someone to open it, it's never going to drive any real results for you. Your email will simply be destined for the trash bin the second it arrives. Let's be honest here. The inbox is a very noisy place, all of ours. The investors you're trying to reach are busy people just like you. Very busy. Inbox is filled to the brim. Cold emails from startups all the time. If all you're doing is joining the cookie cutter email template parade, the email is going to get deleted without a second thought. Using the research I mentioned before, you did, craft a subject line that will stand out from the others and capture the investor's attention. Do not say mobile app investment opportunity. Do say just hit 1 million annual recurring revenue, looking for your seed VC. The key to writing a good subject line is to show investor value right away in one sentence. If lucky, the investor will take a few seconds to read the one sentence, pique their interest with that subject line, and you're in business. So tell them why they should care. By now, you've piqued their interest of your potential investor, gave them a quick overview of what industry you're in and the company, what the company does. The next question you need to answer is this: why should they care? If you want to eventually bring this person on as an investor, you need to convince them that what you're doing matters and is worth paying attention to do. And to do that, there are a handful of things you need to include in your email. Social proof. If you have valuable testimonials from other well-known investors or influential people in the industry, mention them. If a person that's well respected by the investor you're emailing has positive things to say about you, that social proof can be what encouraged them to jump on the call to learn more. Press mentions. Have you been featured in any well-regarded publications like TechCrunch, Forbes, Business Insider, been on any of the news channels here in Canada? If you have, be sure to mention it with a quick quote. If you have the room, media features act as a stamp of credibility to your company. So if you can get on beta kit and whatnot, and this is why, at the beginning, before we started all this, I mentioned why we're probably going to bring in a PR person to our mastermind funding group, just to talk about exactly how do we get in front to get some of these mentions to lead these conversations. Key stats and numbers. What research-based evidence do you have to support that the industry you're in, what you're doing, and how well you're doing it? For example, if you're building a mobile app, give numbers to explain why startups are going mobile first, like the fact that 95% of Americans now own a cell phone, but I have to tell you, building a mobile app, I was talking to several people about that, did some focus groups, and the first response I got from every focus group we had was, why the heck no one wants to download another app? Why are you building an app? So keep that in mind. That's just a side point. Okay, set up a conversation. When you send a cold email to an investor, you should have one goal and one goal only. You're not trying to sell them right away. You're not asking for money right then and there. All you want to do is this: set up a one-on-one conversation. You're not going to close an investor through an email. The goal of your cold email is to get on a potential investor's radar, schedule some time to hop on a call with them. Every cold email you send should have a call to action, and that call to action should be short and sweet. Are you free for a call in the next week, or 2 weeks from now, or 3 weeks from now? Some people like to bury that a little bit for different reasons, because if you usually say, do you have let's schedule a call 3 weeks from now, usually people have openings in their schedule. It's just one of those things. It's a technique, but some people want to get people on the phone faster. Once you get them on the phone, you can dig deeper into your pitch and answer any questions they have for you. When it comes to facilitating this call, keep this one thing in mind: never ask them to book time with you. You need to be the one who schedules the call at a time that works for them. Even if you agree to jump on the call, there's a good chance they won't actually care enough at this point to schedule the call themselves. Make the process as pain-free as possible. All right, sorry, I noticed my camera's acting up, so let's get into this. You don't apparently need to see me for some. We'll see if this goes. Still not going. All right, so back yourself. Okay, I think I missed one here. No, yeah, I did. Let's go back one. All right. Humans have an instinctive need to be consistent. if someone does something for us, we naturally feel a need to reciprocate. It's reciprocal bias. We won't get into it. In order to be a good person within our society, we don't like to be owed. We like to reciprocate. It's human nature. So start your cold email with personalization that demonstrate you've put effort and time into writing this email, and the recipient will be more likely to feel the need to respond. It's a cognitive bias issue. There's a good book on it about the 19 cognitive biases. It's great to understand them. Is there an article they've written that you highly regard? Did you go to the same school? Did you recently invest in a company you love? If you're reaching out to a fund, make sure you are being specific to the partner, principal, analyst you're contacting. Why them? What sectors, companies do they cover? And here's an example. Dear investor, and this personal acknowledgement of what acknowledgement you have done your homework on the investor. So, I really liked your article. I see that you invested here, whatever it is you want to say about them. By way of background, I am CEO, founder, exec of company X, which is description of my of the company and problem. Given your focus on sector, I want to share some information about where we are on our journey. Okay, sounds like a reasonable introduction. We're going to have some more examples in a bit. So then you want to back yourself up and your startup. Data is king for a reason. You've hooked the investor's attention, and if they're still reading your email, you have intrigued them enough to want more. So your next step is to solidify their curiosity with metrics. Show the investor you've got something special and how you can prove it. I like using a range of metrics that showcase the strength of the team, building credibility through experience, proving the team can execute using numbers and revenue, and demonstrating product market fit with growth rates. Choose the metrics that provide a good range of evidence for your business model and market. And remember, lines, not dots. And this is a thing, let me tell you a little, lines, not dots. Investors want to see lines, not dots. Founders throw out dots. They throw out things like, I have 30,000 downloads. Well, I don't know what that, as an investor, I don't know what that means. That's a dot. If you say I have 30,000 downloads and I'm growing at 20% month over month, okay, now you're starting to form a line. If you say I had 30,000 downloads this month and I had 10,000 downloads last month and 5,000 downloads the month before, line. If you say I made this X revenue this month, dot. If you say I made X revenue this month and we're growing at a rate of 15% month over month, that becomes a line. So you want to show them lines, not dots, where they're seeing that pattern. So back to part 2 of this email. We've been doing something strong since our launch in the rough date, wherever it was. Acquired number of customers / users, including, name a few if you got some names you can drop. Achieved a monthly recurring revenue or annual recurring revenue or other revenue metric of X. Assembled a winning team with experience from X, Y, and Z. Other relevant metric, for example, lifetime value over CAC, growth rate, percent, etc. I also suggest, market size. So somehow, make it known how big your market is, because if your market's not big enough, investors aren't interested. So keep that in mind. So on the next part, you want to recruit your investor. Now that you've shown your reader you've got something of interest, get personal again and tell them why. Let them know why you've reached out to them in the first place and why you want them and their expertise, why you think they can help you, like they're experts in this area, how you can work together. If you're fundraising, don't be shy to tell them how much you want and what for. Investors love to know you have a good capital deployment plan in your startup. If you're not like why you're going to use the money, don't ask for money if you don't know why you're going to use it, just for the record. And where it gets you. If you're not fundraising just yet, let them know you want to establish a relationship prior to upcoming capital raise. Hey, so we're raising in a few months, we'd love to chat with you before we start, whatnot. Give them details and how they specifically can help make your company a success. Flattery gets you everywhere, but it's also a great tool to give one final reminder of why you're reaching out to them. Not Joe Smith, not their competing firm or colleague at a desk beside them. You chose to give them the opportunity. So make that clear. Here's an example. We're raising X pre-seed Series A round to main goals of this capital raise. You know, where does it get you? While continuing to build out the existing product with new features. You know, insert your personalized paragraph on why you want this investor in your team to provide and the value they can provide to your company. And the final part, give them a clear call to action. After you've put in all this hard work, don't leave them hanging. Give them a plain and simple action to take so they know what to do. You know, with COVID, a video call a conference is a standard. It's probably the best way to go now. So make sure not to ask for too much of their time. You want to make it easy as possible for them to say yes. Finally, don't forget to thank them for the time. They don't have a lot of it. I'd suggest attaching a brief pitch deck as a teaser with some further information they want to dig deeper. Love to schedule a quick call next week to discuss further in the interim. I've attached a high-level pitch deck for the additional information about your company. Thanks for your time, etc. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing that. And I'm not sure why my camera is not working, but I'm going to share something else. We're going to go over to my Google Doc here. So let's get into some examples. Hopefully you can see this. And I want to pull in the chat room there. All right. So this is a doc. If you're interested, I will happily share this. I've got a couple updates to do, but I'll share this out with you. This is probably the meat of what you're here for. I think it's important to talk about the stuff I talked about so you understand the mindset, the details, and how to go about it. But here we are. Email structure. We're right at the top, right? Yeah, 1 to 2 sentences on why you reached out on this particular venture capital company. 5-day bullet for essential info. Intro to the founders, problem you're trying to solve, how you solve that problem, traction figures, information on funding round, possible other important things that establish credibility. Lead investor name, IP, signed POs, letter of intents, key partnerships. One of the typical pieces of advice was always pay attention to the formatting when it comes. Keep it simple, avoid walls of text, divide the text into short paragraphs or use lines, spaces, bullets, and numbering. Brevity is king. Absolutely. I will, yeah, just put your email here in the chat room, send it to me, and I'll make sure I send out this I'll share this document with it. Actually, you know what? Let's do this right now. Just give me a second. Anyone with link. There you go. Understand it's a little rough right now. And I've taken these from wherever, but you'll all want to use this and poke through it. Where was I? Here's an example, another template. We're going to go through all that. Subject line, option 1, name your company plus detail of ask. Company X, seed, raising 5 million. You know, interesting subject line. Option 2, validation point, gross stat plus details of ask. For example, Metaprop is backed gun detection AI, 10 million users in NYC, raising seed. All right. Introduction. Who are you? Who you are and the point of your email. Intro sentence. Hey, I'm Craig and I'm CEO and founder of the company X. 2 sentences. Describe your unique value prop, the problem and solution, and why this specific venture firm would fit. Purpose, stats that validate. Let me just make this bigger. Perfect. Stats that validate your product slash service. 3 to 5 bullet points. Highlight your traction, momentum, how much you've raised, and any other important stats, facts. This can usually be pulled from the first 5 pages of your deck. You can get link to the deck, to the email, or attach a 1-pager. Closing, end this statement, and one call to action. One brief closing sentence with a call to action. Would you be open to having an introduction conversation? I'd be happy to connect. Now, here are some examples. So I wanted to, let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger so we can kind of, perfect. Hopefully you can kind of see that. Again, a couple of these I created, but they're the small template ones. The rest are stuff I've taken all over the internet. I don't claim these are mine. So you can find them elsewhere. Here are examples. Subject line, Metaprop. We mentioned this one earlier. Metaprop backed gun detection AI, 10 buildings and NYC raising seed. Hi, Aaron. I'm Xavier, the CEO and founder of Company X, a Metaprop portfolio company that builds computer vision software able to automatically identify gun threats and intruder with a high degree of accuracy. All right. So who you are, what you do, sounds pretty great, right? Right there, one sentence. We're currently working with one of the largest landlords in Manhattan to strengthen its security without investing in additional manpower. I'd love to chat about how Company X can elevate your real estate ecosystem. Quick facts: bootstrapped to $1 million, 10 million users in Manhattan, covering 5 billion square feet, 5-person team. Sometimes startups have a hard time getting the right quick facts here. And this is some of the things we discussed in the funding group mastermind, because I tweaked it for a couple of startups on Monday, just because it's really hard when you're too close. Sometimes you got to take a step back and look at it from a different way to get numbers out that make sense and that are interesting. Our deck can be found here. Insert link. Would you be open to have an introductory conversation? Pretty straightforward. Looks pretty good. You see how you got a couple sentences up front, bullet points, and some sentence at, not a wall of text, as I mentioned earlier. This is kind of the format, right? This is a template. And this is the kind of one I share with everybody. Subject line, company name, cross X, R, Y, Z, and AR. Annual recurring revenue raising ahead of Q4 launch. You may not have that exact same thing, but you get the idea. Hi, John. We're doing a pretty unique thing that does XYZ. We're about to kick off a fundraising process, and I've attached our deck below. Some quick highlights: annual recurring revenue is XYZ. It could be monthly recurring revenue, could be whatever, and growing at 30% month over month. Publican recently wrote about how this customer uses our tech. Our team previously worked together on a Pinterest mobile app. How do the coming weeks look for a quick intro to our company and a raise? Pretty straightforward, right? But you gotta, getting it to that level is pretty tough. Here's some examples. I'm sorry if this is a little blurry. This is I didn't have time to rewrite this image taken from somewhere. Subject: 45% month over month growth, 7-figure market, X for Y. Here, X references their company, portfolio company, and Y references your market company. So if you can, they're trying to say they could help their portfolio company and do that kind of stuff. It depends. Sometimes that's the Uber for X. So greetings, whoever you are. I noticed that you did previous investments in, name the relevant parallel companies here. I'm writing to you because my company Envoy Now is also innovating in the on-demand space, targeting the largely untapped but fast-growing college market. We've launched this January, and since have seen a 45% month-over-month growth rate. We've also crossed our 100,000 annual recurring revenue mark. So you're given a quick overview of the unit economics. The next part is list your unique selling proposition. Envoy Now makes on-demand food delivery possible for hard-to-reach yet massive college campuses. We deliver where Grubhub, Postmates simply can't reach, like the 3rd floor of the library, inside a lecture hall classroom, or late night in the history building. Pretty clear explanatory of the unique value prop, right? We've gained unique access because we've leveraged a student workforce. We've also achieved some fastest delivery times around because we partner with local businesses to get priority fulfillment and checkout. Because of your experience in this space, I'd love to get your feedback on the business from an investor standpoint. In full disclosure, we are doing a small seed round before our 500 startups demo day in August. Would this Tuesday, 2 p.m. work for a call? So you get an idea about, being, even if the call This note is saying be specific when you're requesting a time for a call, because even the no gives you a chance to respond, opens up to, for further dialogue to talk. So here's another one. So this is like, for example, if I was going to introduce you or someone else was going to introduce you to somebody. Hey, my favorite company in of TechStars, 500 startups, stack share, social proof in the subject line. The sender throws his vote behind the company he's introducing. So I'm introducing your company, or someone is, and they're saying, hey, this is a great company. It's my favorite. I want to back these guys, or you should back them, kind of thing. Hi, Dave. Hope all's well. I want to connect you with Jonas, the founder of Slackshare.io, from current batch of 500 startups. So obviously this came from 500 startups. I've been advising Jonas for a while, and I'm a big believer in him and the company. They help people discover the best SaaS tools based on which companies are using them and why. They've been growing 7% week over week and have 100K engineers and marketers using their site every single month. More than 25 companies like Airbnb and Dropbox have curated and verified their tech profiles on StackShare. There have been good investor interest for them so far, and I think they'll come out on top of their class this demo day. Would you want to connect and take a look at them before demo day? And this is a thing because a lot of people want to jump the line and invest before demo day on a lot of these things. So you're mentioning well-known brands, also partners to psychologically anchor your company with big companies. Use social proof and a bit more urgency. If you got a time limit thing, there's kind of there. This gives them a little FOMO. You're going to demo day, it's happening this, they're going to be in front of other investors, so maybe I want to meet with them and maybe bump them up the timeline a bit. Here's another one. Subject: Mapster, SaaS for entrepreneur regulations, Fortune 500 customers, seat. You can kind of see the pattern for the title there. My name is Ali. I'm current CEO of Mapstry. Mapstry is a SaaS application for environmental regulation at industry facilities. Environmental regulations are notoriously confusing and complicated, yet the technology used to manage them is usually no more sophisticated than Excel spreadsheets and email. The system leaves manufacturing companies vulnerable to multi-million-dollar lawsuits and severe damage to their brand. Traction and numbers. Customers include Fortune 500 companies like 3M, Republic Services, Tesla, Procter & Gamble. Growing 15% month over month. September revenue 67K. Fully ramped our existing customer base to 4 million run rate. United States TAM 3.7 billion, 1 trillion environmental market globally. Here you go. Love it. This is the first one actually talking about the market. You can check out the details here. I'm raising a seed round of funding for Mapstry to maximize on our recent momentum, expand our product or other environmental domains, focus on stormwater to date, and continue to develop software that automates services traditionally provided by environmental consultants. It goes on. You guys all have a link to this. Now, if you don't get it, let me know. I'll email me whatever afterward to make sure. I don't necessarily have to read all these. I'm just trying to give you a couple examples. Here's another one. Hi, Ted. Hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Nate. I'm the co-founder of XS. Now, there's a couple of things. Normally you end with your name, Nate. So you might not need your name in there. You could just say, hey, I'm the co-founder of XS, but that's up to you. I'm reaching out because you backed Miso Media, which I love, and wanted to get your advice about our new company since we've just opened our seed round. To thank you for your time. If you're interested in surfing and you find yourself back in the San Francisco Bay Area, I'd love to give you a lesson, or more traditionally, buy you a cup of coffee. So, nowadays, for the love of God, don't ask people to go for coffee, because it's just too much of a pain. Unless they live right by you or you're right there, it's usually too much of a pain. So just ask for a call or to meet with them. I live in Burlington. People think I'm in Toronto. They want to meet with me in coffee in Toronto all the time. Like that's, a 2-hour plus commute for me, both when you count them both ways, to meet you for 15 minutes. Just think about that. I know time is really valuable. So in the spirit of the 30-second pitch, here is the overview. XS is creating a mobile opportunity for action sports enthusiasts. Our app is a place where people can view and share high quality user generated professional videos. As we grow, we leverage user behavior and information to sell discounted sporting group. Think Instagram, Pinterest meets Fab for sports. Here's a pitch deck. Here's a 3-minute pitch video. Thanks for your time. I look forward to meeting you in the near future. Okay. Problems with this one. I know his time is valuable. So in the spirit of flirting, sounds like you're apologizing. Don't apologize for their time, and you're just making them read it for an extra 3 or 4 seconds. That doesn't mean anything. Just jump right into Access Mobile. Thanks for your time. I look forward to meeting you in the near future. Where's the call to action? Like, are you, you got it here at the top, but what's the call to action here? Like, what's the follow-up? So make sure you've got that in your closer. Okay. Hi, my name is Brett Fox. I'm the CEO of Touchstone Semiconductor. Touchstone is a high performance analog IC company, think Linear and Maxim, that achieves profitability with minimal funding. The founding team, including design team, are all our alumni of Maxim. The designers are average over 20 years experience. We have a term sheet from a very good VC on Sand Hill Road, and we're looking for additional investor. Please let me know, how do you like to proceed? Again, that's a little vague. Please let me know how you would like to proceed. And there's not enough little information on traction here. So depending on what you are, you're potentially name dropping, which kind of helps and maybe drives FOMO. But I think you're missing a few things here. Here we go. This is a good one. Hi, Constantine. I hope you're having a great week. I know that Runa Capital has invested in Company X, so I wanted to show you our early traction as a Toronto-based startup. My name is Craig, and I'm the co-founder of some Toronto-based startup, and we do all sorts of cool stuff with nice traction, from 0 to 2 million unique visitors in 18 months. And again, I'm just making stuff up here. 220K monthly revenue, broke even. We broke even a year ago. CAC in AdWords is $6. Cost to acquire, by the way, is CAC, and our LTV is $12. And our sales cycle is less than 2 days. So that's pretty interesting. People like see a CAC to LTV of 3 to 1, but this is a 2 to 1, which isn't bad. And a 2-day sales cycle is really good. November 2016, November 2017, startups revenue has grown. Our revenue has grown by 22% per month. With so much detailed user data, we plan to get into blah, 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 blah. I'd love to tell you more. Do you mind if I send you a short deck? So again, it was great up to, do you mind if I send you a short deck? I would say, here's a link to our deck. Do you mind? And then get your call to action. Like, we're setting up a conversation. You're not asking for permission to send the deck. The deck's right here. They can get it. You send them a link, include it. They don't want it. That's okay. They don't have to click on it. But do a call to action here. I think I got one more. Hopefully that you guys are finding these examples useful. Jason, big fan of SaaS TR. So obviously he's right on it. I learn a ton, which is obviously a podcast, or I don't know what SaaS TR is. So we're both top writers on Quora, building that connection. So, hey, I'm a big fan of something new. I learn a ton. So obviously it's a blog or it's a podcast. We're both top writers on Quora, so I'm making a connection. I've learned from you. I've been to your stuff. I'm looking for a lead. So it's Fab. We're the lead in companies. I admire Mapistry and Automile. So this is obviously companies they also invested in. I'm the CEO of Save Mass. We're a subscription flower business for forgettable people that want better relationships. We do this by scheduling flowers. It's a funny idea, but it works. Here's our traction. Here's our metrics. Here's our team of ex-Google for flowers. Google Flowers. Our funding, bootstrap founders invested $300K. Our ARPA is $120. You get the idea. We're at the point where we are scaling our sales team. I'm coachable and would love to have you as my partner to help us apply best practices. So now you're trying to leverage their experience and understanding that they can help you as a business. Raising 1 million with 300K soft from angels so far, looking for 500 from you, which is your sweet spot according to Storm's site investment thesis, which now you're showing all this homework that you've done. Kindly find our deck attached. I'm in Palo Alto in 3 weeks on Tuesday and Wednesday. If interested, I'd love to show you the product and take you through our business. That's great. That's a pretty good one there. So I'm going to stop sharing. I am not sure why my camera's not working, but so let me know. Was that useful? Do you have questions? Just put them in the chat room there. I'm moving my computer here so I can get this other camera on. Hopefully nothing breaks. Hey, I'm back. Yeah, I don't know. One of these cables is not right. Sorry about that. All right, where are we in the chat room? Can we get a copy? Yeah, I put the link. Everyone got the link. We'll definitely put some of this to good use. Great. And remember, if you're actually looking and you want to join our mastermind group, just email me. It's I'll put it in here. And really, it's just designed to help you get funding. Now we've got when I say this homework, you know, I make people do our funding score readiness scorecard, which is you know, it's a spreadsheet people go through, and there's a video to watch just to score themselves and a few other things, so people you understand where you are and where we are. So any questions? Thanks for the harsh reality check. Yeah, sorry, I know up front you have to, we all have our ego. Everyone I talk to thinks it's the best idea in the world. It's the best startup ever. However, you know, reality is a little bit different, right? So you have to put the mind of the investor when you're doing this. You should be able to put these in play right away and start using either the smaller ones on LinkedIn. I really like the short one in the middle. That's just an example. And anyway, you've seen it all. Do you think you have time next week to book a pitch with you? So funnily enough, we do our networking events. We do live investor speed dating. We do startup pitch battle. We do other events where we try and get, and I'm doing a pitching school with Will Greenblatt, where people submit a 1-minute video pitch and we critique it. So there's a lot of stuff we do. If you show up and start participating and say, I attended this, I attended that, I'd love to meet you. You know, you're like, love to chat with you. I'll happily have a meeting and whatnot. It's just sometimes you might have to bug me once or twice because I do get busy, and I don't mind if you do that. If you didn't hear back from me in a few days, send me another message. Happy to do it. But because you're active, you're looking, and you're doing the work, you know, that's kind of the thing. Same with investors, if you met them and whatnot. We used to do live events like startup drinks, open pitch, open bar, where we'd get a handful of investors in the room. We'd get 50 plus people, 50 to 100 people in the room. So everyone would be able to drink and have pizza and mingle and pitch, and the conversations would be great. And you'd be talking to investors, and you meet those conversations, you email people afterwards, and those set up calls. The networking is not the same as it was. Hopefully we'll be getting back to that in 6 months or so, or whenever they let us, where we can actually start that networking again. But definitely, if this was valuable to you and you want to connect with me, email me, let me know. So hopefully, if there's no more questions, it's 7 o'clock, right on the nose. I had no idea how long that was going to take those templates. If for whatever reason you don't get them, you're having a hard time making a copy, email me, I'll send the link to you. This is all going to be part of my funding course I'm doing, but don't worry about that later. I'm coming up stuff. If you're emailing investors, we have a master investor list that I share with people if they pass my scorecard and stuff, because I don't want people who aren't ready bugging investors, because that makes it worse for everybody. We're also, if you need how to manage, you're reaching out to all the investors, I've got spreadsheets and stuff. We're doing upcoming events on how to manage all of that, your fundraise, and track where everything is and all that kind of stuff. I've got templates for all these things and some tools for these things. So look for those coming up, and hopefully you'll find them useful. And if you get some success, let me know. I'd love to hear success stories. Hey, I used this template. I've been talking to investors nonstop since. Great. And let me know if you have a template that works for you. I'd love to be able to share that with everyone else. So thanks everyone for joining. And again, Craig at TorontoStarts.com, future events at TorontoStarts.com/events. And thanks everyone. We'll talk to you all soon.